Alright, in this video, this is the They Said So Daily Quote API. It does not require an API key as long as you don't want to get real deep into the categories. And heading on over to the website theysaidso.com, if we scroll on down through here, well, first of all, let me show you some of them. Funny quote of the day. Common sense and sense of humor are the same thing, moving at different speeds. A sense of humor is just common sense. Dancing. Well, that's exactly what we have right here. Also have the author and the date getting pulled from the API. The life quote, I'm actually using that one here, and then this one at the top is just the quote of the day. But scrolling down a little bit further, if we go to the API details and we go look at the ones that are available to the public that are rate limited, so this one here, and this one right here, all these other ones are private and you can actually pay for more quotes, but I'm just going to focus on the public ones here. So to get the quote of the day, we want to go to this URL, and I already have that set up right here. Now if we zoom on in on this, this is the quote of the day, and we can see that we have that one right there. So how do we access this? Well, we want to go to this URL, and let me go into this component here, and this is also in my free components folder, They Said So Daily Quotes. And inside of there I have a stat group, and inside of that stat group I have the quote of the day, the funny quote, and the life quote. Let's go to the quote of the day stat group, and I have each individual item stacked inside of this group. So the quote itself, let's go to the code, and this is how we get this quote. We do a web get, we go to that URL. I did wrap this in quotations, and notice it is a JSON. So that's what I have there. And then to navigate through this thing. Now we could get this same quote a little bit differently, but I want us to look at the navigation that I'm doing here to get to the quote. Dot content, so I'm accessing this piece right here. Then I'm doing dot quotes. Well, there's the quotes, but inside of the quotes, notice the square brackets, that one and that one right there. These two close each other up, and we have to access that, and it's the first one. We give it an index of 0 for JavaScript object notation. And without that, if I take that away from the code, we don't get anything. Even if I check on this, give it a second to update, it's not going to access it. So to get inside of those square brackets, and notice we have an error down here, let's go and access that first index. So technically it's an index of 0. It's the first piece. And now that we're inside of there, we go to dot quote, and that's where we're getting this quote here. So checking on that, if we come back to the author, very similar. The code's just really copied and pasted, except now I'm doing dot author. That's how we're getting Albert Gray. And then you guessed it, if we back up to the date, I'm doing the exact same thing again, except we have dot date. Now let's talk about accessing some more of these categories. So I'm going to back on out of here, and I'm going to go to the funny. Funny and life work the same way. And if we go back to the API here, we can see what type of categories are available to the public. So going to this URL, I have that one right here. The categories we can access are Inspire, Management, Sports, Life, Funny, Love, Art, and Students. So if I go back to the API page, and if we want to access a specific category, we go to this URL and we change that category to whatever we want. I have it copied here. This is Management, but let's change this to, which one did I say I was? Funny. So I'm going to change that URL, category equals funny. Let it load up, and there's that common sense quote that I mentioned earlier. So the URL is a little bit different. If we go to the quote, we look at the code, still pretty similar though. The URL, notice I'm putting that category equals funny. Still accessing a JSON, and then we have that same route that we can take. Dot contents, dot quotes, 0, accessing inside of these square brackets that we see right here. And then we do dot quote. So the only thing I'm really changing here is adding a little bit more stuff to the URL. That question mark category equals funny, or whatever other category you want to access. And then if you were to look at the text and the date, it's the same thing. And then if I just back out and go down here to life, looking at that quote, notice I'm accessing the URL, question mark category equals life, everything else is the same. And just to see if that matches up, I want to change that to life. The highest wisdom, blah, 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 and notice that's exactly what we have right here. So no globals here, just a little bit of coding, reviewing JSONs, how to navigate through those. I don't know if I've really done a tutorial on navigating a JSON where we have the square brackets and the way we access inside of that. We get access to that information by giving it an index. And since it's the first piece of square brackets, we give it an index of 0. Now there are tons of other APIs where you can get daily quotes. This is just one of many, but hopefully this gives you some pointers on, accessing the JSON file. You may see some XML formats for daily quotes, but the more I do these tutorials and the more I look at this stuff, I'm seeing more JSONs than I am XMLs, but maybe I'm wrong, but that's just what I've noticed. If you have any questions, leave a comment below, and that's it for this video. I hope it helped.